And we're getting some insight into why the commission has chosen to lay out the evidence this way. Paula Tutman is talking to the local experts on this and has more.
It is vitally important to understand not just the evidence being presented in these hearings, but why it's being presented and the way it's being presented and to whom it's actually being presented to.
In Michigan and Pennsylvania and all over, how the FBI and Department of Justice, I don't know, maybe they're involved.
By showing the words of the people in then President Donald Trump's inner circle, evidence is being presented in a deliberate and documented way, explains Professor Diane Hartness, a political science associate professor and expert in the Constitution and constitutional law for Oakland University.
They want to lay out their case so carefully because they then turn it over to the Department of Justice, and it is up to the Department of Justice to actually bring charges, but they are the investigatory body. Yes, I think that's exactly what they found is sedition. And I think they found it at the highest levels of our government, which is terrifying.
Which is why former Attorney General Bill Barr's testimony is particularly important as the top law enforcement officer in the land in the Trump administration.
Barr persisted in telling the president that there was no evidence to support the fraud claims.
This got under my skin, but I also felt it was time for me to say something. I told him that the stuff that his people were shoveling out to the public was bullshit. I mean, that the claims of fraud were bullshit. And, he was indignant about that. And I reiterated that they'd wasted a whole month on these claims on the Dominion voting machines, and they were idiotic claims.
But Professor Jonathan Weinberg, who also teaches constitutional law at Wayne State University, says the next steps are less about court of law and more about the court of public opinion.
Really, in the most important respects, the committee is making a case to the American people because the committee believes that this was a case in which the President of the United States conspired to essentially void the results of a presidential election, to stay in office even if he lost. The committee members know full well that this came close enough to succeeding, that there's every reason to think that people close to the president, supporters of the president, will be interested in trying those sorts of scams again.
Okay, and so now I'm going to try to thread a very, very thin needle. The commission is not going after the former president for exhausting all legal remedies for what he claimed was fraud, proven time and time again by courts not to be true. They're going after Donald Trump for basically trying to overturn an election. For instance, looking for those 11,780 votes in Georgia, what he said, the way he said it, and creating that causal connection with people who stormed the Capitol, drawing that direct line between Trump and the rioters in hopes that they can make a case to the American people by way of the Department of Justice and hopefully picking off some of those people who are not firmly, Jason, entrenched in their opinions. It's a lot to digest, but it's very important to dial into the nuances.
Absolutely right, and just very strategic in the way everything has been laid out. Paula, thank you.